Oh no, sorry. Ryan's team is 5-0-1, while the other side on James' their team is 6-0. They haven't even lost yet, so they're definitely at a huge advantage. And next up, it looks like they are getting all ready to go. I can't wait to see this matchup. Brian Levine, you know, he's been around for quite some time. He's competed in the World Championship. He's competed many YCSs, and now he's here trying to win a team YCS with his friends.
Yeah, so looking at this matchup here, we see a matchup that we've seen a couple times already this weekend, but what I think has really differentiated the Kashtira decks is some of those small card choices. You know, Ryan Levine's, I think, actually utilizing a much more robust Kashtira monster lineup. It'll be really interesting to see some of those singleton cards that he's able to search out of his deck with some cards like Kashtira Ogre, a card that we have yet to actually see this weekend.
Yeah, Kashtira Ogre is not one you normally see play because a lot of times you're not really looking for the Kashtira trap cards. You're usually banishing Big Bang with the Rise Heart, but it's definitely interesting to see that he's going to be using Ogre here this weekend. But they're doing well. They haven't technically lost yet. They only have one draw, so it's definitely been paying off, and I think they're all using the same kind of strategy. So the Kashtira deck is a really powerful one coming out of Photon Hypernova. I see similarities to the old Dino Rabbit deck because, I mean, let's call it Macro Rabbit maybe, because when you have Macro Cosmos up, you got a one-card starter that's really going to put your board online right away. It's kind of similar vibes in how they play, but the Kashtira deck can go much further. They can extend into crazy combos. They can use the Diabolus, the Mind Hacker, to lock out all of your zones while banishing so many cards off the top of your deck. It's really fun to see, but hopefully we're going to see some of that action here in the 7th round of Swiss.
Yeah, that's really the beauty of the Kashtira deck, attacking on so many different axes. You see it, obviously, the Macrocosmos-esque effect of a Rise Heart, and then in addition to that, locking out whether it's monster zones or spell or trap card zones. You really have to come prepared for a strategy that can lock you out of multiple points of the game.
All right, the dice have been rolled, so it's time to jump right in. It's round number 7. That's right, it's the last round of the day. So if you've been watching and waiting, this is what it's all come down to see who of these teams is going to be able to make it to tomorrow and then eventually to that top 16 cutoff. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Looks like we're taking a moment to get there. Just bear with us. But this is going to be a Kashtira mirror match, which is really, really interesting. Do we see? So we haven't seen a Kashtira mirror match today, except for that first round when we saw Christian Urena. I don't remember his opponent's name, but it was definitely an injury. It seemed whoever went first really had a huge advantage in that matchup.
Yep, we did see one round 1, and now we get to see one to close out our first day.
Yeah.
All right, it looks like James won. Sometimes you can win the roll, at least potentially. Yeah, James did in fact win the roll, or in some capacity is elected to go first. Summoning here, you know, the card that you definitely want to see, Kashtira Unicorn. One of the beauties of this deck, which we've mentioned multiple times, is just how overlapping so many other cards in the strategy are.
Yep, going to grab Theosis, Kashtira Theosis. That's out of Photon Hypernova.
I'm going to attempt to chain Ash.
So here we see Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, a card that I definitely think has risen in popularity quite considerably this weekend. I think it was pretty obvious with Branded being back into the format with as much representation as many players predicted that it would be back. But now we also see it interacting fairly well against the Kashtira strategy.
Yeah, Ash Blossom definitely has multiple applications you can use, and it's really awesome to see it and going back into players' decks. I like formats where Ash Blossom is being played. I feel like it's a sign of somewhat of a healthy format where it's able to have an impact. And now the Pressure Planet Wraithoth is going to allow James to grab Kashtira Fenrir from the deck to the hand.
And here's the question, does he have Kashtira Birth, which is really the pivotal card here that will allow him essentially to, yes, he does in fact have a copy. So it's going to essentially allow him, assuming this goes uninterrupted, to end the board with sort of that ideal opening turn that we've seen throughout the day with the Kashtira players, even though Ryan opened with a single hand interruption with Ash Blossom.
Nope, and we see a reinforcement to the army. Is he going to grab that Crusadia Arboreal? Nope, he's just going to grab the Rise Heart. We saw the Crusadia Arboreal, so now I'm looking for it, but he's already used his normal summon. Now the Kashtira Rise Heart is going to special summon, banish the Big Bang.
I banished it, right? Yeah.
Oh, he's going to banish the Big Bang, but not make the Shangri-Ira first, so he's just deciding to go... he's playing around Nibiru this way, so he's only going to summon 4 times to go into a Rise Heart in the extra monster zone.
Face down. Sure.
I've seen some people play the deck this way where they're really fearful of Nibiru. This is definitely a way to play around it, but you definitely get a less of an impactful board.
So I've seen Nibiru walking around the venue quite a bit. I actually don't think I've seen it on the feature match table too many times. But that is another card that's kind of returned back into the format with a Forbidden and Limited list.
All right, so Ryan leading off with Unicorn.
The question here really for James is if he's going to use his quick effect now that he has 3 materials on his Arise Heart to just immediately banish the Unicorn face down. It does seem that that's what he wants to do.
New chain? Yes. Okay. Other planet?
Ryan's going to activate Pressured Planet Race Oath.
You have a 2 in hand now? Yeah.
So if that was James' only interaction, he's kind of shields down here in terms of interacting for the rest of the turn. It'll be interesting to see if Ryan can navigate through this turn after having already summoned a Unicorn. Luckily for him, though, he hasn't activated Unicorn's effect, so if he is able to access Unicorn in other ways, perhaps with a Kashtira Birth, he will actually still be able to use its effect.
Yeah, and he is grabbing that Unicorn here with the Pressured Planet, so I can only imagine his goal is to get the Unicorn on the field. And there it comes. Special summon, so he gets to do it again.
Yeah, one of the interactions that I've seen, not necessarily this weekend, but in preparation for the event, was actually seeing cases where the Unicorn or even Fenrir would find its way into the graveyard, the banished pile, and then it would return to the field, whether through Birth or through Big Bang. And if it had been removed from the field prior to using its effect, now all of a sudden it's back onto the field, and now you can freely use its effect. It's one of just the amazing ways that this deck can always navigate through these opening plays and ultimately get to a very similar game state.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, does it have to be?
It has to be 3, yeah.
Yeah, not going to be able to trigger Birth since it has to banish 3. Only 2 cards in the graveyard.
If I Fenrir to search? Sorry.
Yeah. That's.
Oh, this is banned, yeah.
I feel like this Arise Heart's supposed to be triggering. Okay, yeah, there you go. I was like, it definitely needs to be attaching materials every time a card effect is activated once per chain.
And it is, in fact, mandatory, something that we have seen quite a few times with the triple Tactus cards.
And now it's backfiring for him because it's triggering that Fenrir on Ryan's side of the field.
Mm-hmm.
If I Fenrir to search?
This is awesomely well navigated here by Ryan.
It's really quite interesting. It's almost like James went into this matchup thinking to himself, I really have to worry about Nibiru. Nibiru, I cannot play into Nibiru. I need to make a Rise Heart under 5 summons. And as a result of that, he seemingly has played into the actual Kashtira cards themselves, which works so well against a card that is mandatory effect.
So he kind of played himself is what you're saying.
Maybe to an extent.
Let's see what Ryan decides to do next. Is he going to overlay here for Shangri-Ira and special summon Rise Heart from the hand? I'd imagine so. Now here comes the Rise Heart.
Special summon?
How many cards now?
You can special summon Rise Heart since he controls a Kashtira monster.
Sure.
Ooh.
See, that he was playing so hard around Nibiru because he, in fact, plays Nibiru himself. So we're seeing the reverse here. So this could be a pivotal Nibiru because Ryan's used Unicorn, he's used Fenrir, he's used Rise Heart.
Yeah, so maybe it was James that was setting the trap the whole time, saying, you know what, I'm just going to put Rise Heart on the field. I'm going to let you invest some resources into it, and then I know I can have Nibiru that goes over the top of your play.
I mean, they're certainly 6-0 for a reason.
So that makes a lot of sense.
Battle phase. Attack. So I take 15.
So this is an attack into the Nibiru in order to just clear his monster zone. So if he has another Kashtira card, he can special summon it, or if he has...
Maybe
Yes, this is Ogre.
Maybe a slight mistake here from James not summoning that token in defense position so he wouldn't be able to clear it off the field.
For what it is worth, Unicorn's been summoned. Unicorn's used its effect.
Right. You wouldn't think there's any. You wouldn't think the Ogre's coming. You're very right about that.
So for those of you who haven't seen this card yet this weekend, I think this is the first time it's at the feature match table. I know it's been in a few players' deck lists. This is essentially the equivalent of Unicorn. However, it lets you search out a trap card. So we've seen Kashtira Big Bang quite a few times this weekend, which is sort of the card that you'll see in all of the Kashtira decks. But we haven't seen this card yet, Kashtira Preparations. This is a very interesting card effect.
It summons a banished Kashtira, and it.
We'll let Ryan explain it.
And it, if you play a trap effect while I control a Kashtira, then I look at your hand and banish a card face down.
So
it has to be a face-up banished.
Yeah, so you don't want to activate a trap while it's face-up, or you're going to lose something out of your hand. But it's like a Call of the Haunted, but it's special from the banished.
I would say its first effect is probably the effect that has, you know, application 90% of the time, where each turn you get to special summon a Kashtira back, and it doesn't restrict you to, you know, just Kashtira, Unicorn, and Fenrir. You can actually summon extra deck monsters. Now, if it is face up on the field, that's requirement number 1, and you control a Kashtira, that's requirement number 2, and your opponent activates a trap card, that's requirement number 3, then you get to do that hand effect. So that will always be face up. James would have to willingly activate a trap card into it.
Right.
But it is still definitely something, right? If you're playing against a trap-heavy strategy, having this as a potential card is pretty impactful, and we've seen the popularity of decks like Labyrinth this weekend.
Yeah, and the fact that it's a continuous trap and you could use it during your opponent's turn is really fantastic.
I think, Ryan, really any player that's utilizing this card valued the additional Kashtira extender. And then preparations in and of itself, if the game goes long, is actually a pretty reasonable effect, right? This game here, both players have thrown a lot of resources at one another. And the games, you know, here we're trading cards like Ash Blossom with one another. Has kind of boiled down to only a few cards on either side of the table. And as a result, a card like Preparations over the next couple of turns can generate quite a bit of card advantage.
That is right. Yeah, another Ash Blossom here from Ryan.
Which triggers Fenrir. He's going to now use that to banish the Ogre.
Okay.
Here we see that looks like Tier Elements.
Yep, Tier Elements Kashtira. And that's going to be enough for Ryan. He's seen the writing on the wall. He knows the game's over. He's going to scoop him up and go straight into that side deck.
No, you can't change the order.
You can't change the order.
But that was an interesting match. We saw James probably lay the trap in many ways with his own Nibiru by going under potentially Ryan's Nibiru. And we saw the entire game James able to play without fear of Nibiru, or without actually having to play into a Nibiru fully. He always played under Nibiru.
Yeah, he was playing smart, solid, and consistent. But definitely that Nibiru is what won him that game. I mean, while the Ogre was still able to do something and follow up afterwards, Nibiru is just tough to bounce back from sometimes for Kashtira players. That's why, like, I'm a big fan of like the Adventure Kashtira deck. We saw Shun Ping playing earlier. Because you can get that Griffin Rider out, so you don't really have to worry about so much as Nibiru. And if you don't want to use as many cards as the Adventure package, you know, entails, you could also just use 3 Nightmare Corruptor Iblis, summon it, link it away, give it to your opponent, no longer have to worry about Nibiru, and they have to already deal with that Iblis. But the downside of that is you have to draw the Nightmare Corruptor Iblis. There's no Nightmare Mermaid to, you know, grab it out to give it to the opponent right away, but definitely still an option. I mean, that's why we've seen so many duelists using Iblis here this weekend. Though I don't think we've seen it summoned in a feature match.
No, we've seen it in many deck lists. It hasn't actually hit the table yet. Nibiru is another card that we've actually seen here or there, and again, as I mentioned, walking around the venue, I saw a lot of players playing Nibiru. We actually started to have quite a big impact in this game here. That's another card, though, that is rotated sort of back into the format with the restrictions to the Tier Element strategy. Cards like Tier Element Rukulos are not going to find the field as often as they did perhaps a week or two ago. As a result, we see a card like Nibiru back firmly into many players' main decks.
Yeah, it's definitely a good one to have right now, and especially when you're going into a wide open format like this, coming fresh off of Forbidden and Limitless, where you really don't know what you're going to be facing. You can kind of guess people might be gambling on really focusing on going first and doing like a full-on combo. So Nibiru kind of has a widespread coverage, and especially when it's one of the good options to have against the expected top deck like Kashtira, you can definitely expect players to be utilizing a card like that in their main decks, and if not in their main decks, it's probably in their side decks. I would be shocked if someone didn't have a Nibiru in the main or side and just thought, nah, I don't need Nibiru this weekend.
I've seen it even in strategies walking around the venue, such as Branded, which, you know, typically wouldn't allot a main deck slot to a card like that because it doesn't really advance the game plan of conducting fusion summons.
Yeah, but it's at least it's a light you can fuse with for Albion, maybe potentially, but it really shows you the power of the Kashtira deck, where even a card like that, you just have to be able to deal with something, prevent your opponent. You don't want to lose all your zones locked out. You don't want to have to deal with an Arise Heart. And a lot of the times, Nibiru can cover those bases. But now we are side decking. I wonder what you side for the mirror match. I mean, I'm assuming you're going to be looking for cards to take your opponent's Arise Heart, something like Triple Tactics Talents, Thrust to get Talents, or Change of Heart. Because in the mirror match, you can take the Arise Heart and put a Zeus on top of it. Or if you can trigger, or if they start with Arise Heart and Shangri-Ira, which they probably won't in the mirror match, it'll trigger Shangri-Ira and you can put your own Arise Heart once you take theirs. But I imagine both these players won't be playing into that. And it is time to jump right in. It's game number 2. Here in Swiss round 7, we have an update on the table scores as well. It looks like Nishad lost game 1 at table C, so the red team is up pretty early. That's Team Kansan. They're both up 1 game apiece on 2 tables.
So here we see Ryan open up with Kashtira Fenrir, and this is an important interaction here. When you open up with Fenrir, I made this comment on earlier, perhaps a month ago, 2 months ago, that would have been great. Now, though, with the cards from Photon Hypernova, you really actually want to open up with Unicorn. And if you do not have access to Unicorn on the opening turn, whether it's through Kashtira Birth in addition to Fenrir or through Theosis, it's difficult to have that really explosive opening play.
Yep, but opening up the Fenrir and the Theosis gives him everything he wants. He's able to grab Kashtira Birth, Kashtira Ogre, so he's going to be able to use the Birth, and now he can normal summon the Ogre. So all three of the Kashtira monsters that were released in Darkwing Blast making their way to the field here.
It's probably going to be the case that he just searches preparations. Kashtira Big Bang, I think, is just more of a combo piece. It does have a reasonable effect, which has come up a few times this weekend.
Summon the XYZ too, or?
This one can't summon XYZ, yeah. This can't, but this one can, yeah.
That's a good question from James in terms of whether or not preparations could summon non-extra deck monsters, or if it was exclusive to one versus the other. It actually can summon any Kashtira monster.
All right, it looks like we're going to see 3 level 7s to make an Arise Heart.
When, I think it's whatever they search.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Just whatever that they summon.
So here comes the Rise Heart.
We see Ryan playing around Nibiru himself by just going into this on summon number 4 and sending 3 back rows. He's going to play a very defensive, sort of passive, slow strategy. Not something we've seen out of every Kashtira matchup this weekend.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, I guess Shingra Ira is just a liability in the mirror match, where you're just giving your opponent, like, you're automatically triggering your monster effect right away, so they're going to be able to take it. But, ooh, Infinite Permanence is huge here for James. He's going to be able to stop one of the main interactions Ryan's going to have. I know he did set a Book of Moon. I saw that as it went down, so he's definitely going to still have some defenses, but Impermanence is definitely a good way for James here to start.
This also plays around cards, not that we necessarily know that James is playing them, but cards like Lava Golem. If your opponent only has one monster on the field, Lava Golem's not going to do anything.
Very true.
So Ryan has probably tested this matchup quite a bit and realized, yeah, maybe I don't have to do that full explosive play. Maybe I go into a single Rise Heart, let it accumulate XYZ materials, and then over the course of the next 2 turns, actually perhaps attacking for game.
That would make a lot of sense, and it looks like the summon of Unicorn is going to be met immediately by that Book of Moon from Ryan. So now Unicorn's going to go face down before it can use the effect, and now James is going to need a Kashtira Birth to continue his plays. Nope, no, he has a Challenge Kashtira. That's another way to get a level 7 on the field, because he just has to banish a Kashtira or a Tail Armor card from his hand or graveyard to special summon it.
And this is going to be a painful one. Anytime you have to banish a card from your hand like this, it's not a great feeling, but if you have to do it, you have to do it, and it's better to have that as a potential interaction than not having it on the card at all. And it looks like he had to banish a Fenrir, which is an especially painful banish from the hand. Well,
and he does have Theosis as well. Let's see if Ryan's going to be able to cut this off. Does he have anything to deal with this Tearless Kashtira? Nope. Looks like Theosis resolves.
This is huge because I think I saw the last card in James' hand as a copy of Book of Eclipse, which is a little bit redundant with the Infinite Impermanence in terms of at least how Ryan opened up the game.
Activate Big Bang.
Ooh, speaking of Big Bang actually coming into effect here.
Another reason to just have one Arise Heart, so he will have a Big Bang. So he's going to have to banish 2 of his monsters, I believe. Until he only controls 1. Yep.
And then,
So you want it in separate piles, you're saying? No. Oh. Oh.
okay, thinking. Now, on resolution of that, activate preparations.
Now he has preparations.
Use that hand or?
Yeah, hand or banish.
Yeah.
And it's Fenrir, Ryan's last card in hand. Is that Kashtira Fenrir. So now if James uses Unicorn, the Fenrir banishes it.
And James is starting to really see the interactions here. Preparations is not one of those cards that is the most common Kashtira card. And I think James is starting to realize that that is actually the card that is potentially going to shut him out of this particular game, because that Fenrir's effect of being able to banish face down is huge right now.
Certainly is. Yeah, Preparations is pretty cool. I definitely want to check that out when I next build up my Kashtira deck.
And if you decide to incorporate it, you get Kashtira Ogre, which I think is a pretty awesome inclusion, having an entirely additional extender under some circumstances.
Yeah, it feels like he's not so great to be like an only monster you draw as Ogre. Kind of would feel bad, but it's still not a bad card.
Yeah, but sometimes you're going to have Kashtira Birth and really want that just additional level 7 monster.
Very true. It's another name.
Chain.
Ooh,
Sure.
Book of Eclipse.
Yeah, this is a pretty painful Book of Eclipse.
Now the Fenrir is not going to be able to activate.
Okay.
The Birth is going to let him special summon the Fenrir that was banished. That's going to add the Rise Heart. Rise Heart is going to special summon from the hand.
So he uses this Book of Eclipse to set the Fenrir so that he can use his Unicorn without having to worry about banishing a face-up card.
Next up, he's going to banish Big Bang, probably? Nope, just going to go ahead and banish Birth. Maybe something he doesn't want to draw since he already has a copy of Birth activated. He's going to banish the top 3 cards of Ryan's deck face down. Now it's level 7.
As you can tell, James is making some calculations. You don't get 6-0 in a YCS, whether it's a 3v3 YCS or a singleton YCS, without really understanding the interactions of your deck. And these are the games where that really shows.
I think he's thinking about, like, Big Eye, maybe, taking the Rise Heart.
Attack the player targeting the trap.
Yep. So Fenrir is going to attack. On when it attacks, it triggers the effect to banish the opponent's card face down and attacks over the other Fenrir. Now he's going to overlay. It has to be Big Eye, I think, right? Yeah, it is. So the Big Eye is going to take that Arise Heart, so you can flip it back face up. Now it's his Arise Heart. Thanks to number 11.
I go?
Yeah, it doesn't flip up my monsters, right?
No, only mine.
Yeah, really showing the usefulness of Book of Eclipse here in this turn. The versatility of the usefulness.
So Ryan, I think, is just top decking here. He has Birth, so he has some on the board. Yeah, here we go. He's going to have on the board. This is going to just bait out the Arise Heart.
He's going to attach 3 materials. They get banished thanks to Arise Heart. Now, since an effect activated, it attaches a material to Arise Heart. Oh, another Fenrir. Off the top, right?
Yep, he had no hand.
That was huge. What a top deck.
The important question here is, did he banish Rise Heart or Scarecrow Kashtira, which are his primary extenders in a situation like this? This is really where those face-down banishes off the top of the deck can really be painful.
Yeah, we don't know what they don't have, that's for sure. Ryan's taking a moment to consider. I feel like the only thing he needs to find a way to get to Zeus, I think. Or no, he could just get to his own Big Eye, take the Big Eye,
Yes.
Big Eye, take the Arise Heart. The old Dragon Ruler combo,
Yes.
I forgot about that, where you Big Eye there, Big Eye. Whoever Big Eyes first is usually more susceptible. Or you get Crimson Blader because you left Big Eye face up.
You can go Big Eye, gets the Rise Heart, attacks the face down, go Zeus main phase 2.
Yep, that's what I'm looking at.
Your mandatory chain link 1, chain link 2.
Yeah, Ryan's reminding them that Rise Heart's mandatory because he's like, yeah, get the materials underneath there for when I take it onto my side of the field.
Well, this will destroy, or rather, potentially banish Birth. Oh, I think potentially banish Birth. That way you don't necessarily have to use Zeus if he decides to do that Big Eye play.
I think so. That would be a
Ooh, an Ultimate Red Big Eye. It's been a long time since I've seen an Ultimate Red Big Eye hit the field.
It does look nice.
Activate targeting the Big Eye.
Yeah, I think we're going to see it.
Mandatory.
There we go. Big Eye takes Big Eye.
Will trigger.
Yeah, I told you, he's making sure he gets every material on that Arise Heart so he can have. I'm telling you, he wants to have a huge Zeus. If you have a Zeus with like 8 materials, I don't know what the Kashtira deck can do about that.
What's probably going to happen right here is he's going to keep the Kashtira Rise Heart on the field. The Kashtira is going to attack the face down monster, and then he's going to overlay Big Eye into a Zeus. So he's going to have an on the
he
field.
could have both,
He
yeah.
can have both because it doesn't have to be the monster that you attack with. You can actually attack your opponent's XYZ monster and still go into Zeus. It doesn't have to be the monster.
Just an Xyz monster has to battle during the battle phase. Yep.
And the reason we're pointing that out is because the Big Eyes can't attack because they activated their effects. But you don't need 2 Big Eyes sitting there on the field. He's going to have the point of interaction with the Rise Heart, the quick effect banish, and in addition to
Can I
that,
use this to banish? I don't think so, right?
No, you cannot. Its effect's already been
I don't think
activated this
so.
turn. It doesn't refresh when
Sorry,
it changes
already did
control.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's a soft. So it's that one was used already.
Yes.
Okay.
Doesn't reset when it changes sides. Already used the effect this turn. I don't know. I still think a Zeus with like 2 materials is probably better than a Zeus with one shot and just a Rise Heart. Because then you're just getting 1 banish face down and 1 board wipe. When the board wipe does like, as opposed to having like 3 board wipes, I feel like you just have more options with Zeus.
It's a debatable.
Yeah, it's close.
One per copy, right?
Because you also have the, I mean, maybe it's another matchup, but when you're playing them, like, you're not gaining anything from the, I guess the Rise Heart's always gaining something. It's going to keep gaining those materials while it's on the field next to that Zeus. So there definitely is some merit into leaving it as a Rise Heart.
I think those are the two, as of what we see currently, the 2 obvious lines, where it's either probably, what is it going to be, at least a 4 material, 5 material
1,
Zeus
2,
once you attack the face
3,
down monster.
4, 5. It's already at 6. Yeah, if you make Zeus right now, it's going to have 6 materials, I think. So that would be pretty crazy.
Yeah, what you can do here is banish the Kashtira Birth. Oh, well, they're actually letting him use it.
Oh, whoops. Oh, these are your 2 cards. My bad. I'm sorry.
That's weird.
To attach.
So you're saying, sorry, this on top or the other way around?
Well, this is huge because Birth was the on-the-field obvious issue for Ryan.
That's the only thing he really needed to clear.
And now if he goes into Zeus, he's in really great shape.
Main phase 2.
It'll be interesting, though. What's Zeus going to go over? Big Eye or Rise Out? What do you think he's going to do? I think he's going to do it over Big Eye.
Now I think he's doing it over Big Eye.
Yes, okay.
Previously, I thought it was going to be on the Rise Heart, but now it's not too much. Well, I still think he might do it on the Rise Heart.
Have I normal summon? Are we going back?
Yeah, there's no way. Yeah, okay, thank you. They're fixing. Great, awesome. Yeah, there's no way that you can activate a Rise Heart's effect twice in the same turn. I don't know why they decided to change their minds on that one, but I was just sitting here baffled at what was going on. I do not, this is some basic Yu-Gi-Oh! 101 stuff. Like, I don't, that's so funny to me. But yeah, monsters don't reset their effects when they change sides of the field.
Unless there's a Book of Moon in there.
Yeah, flipping it face down is a completely another story. But at least they were able to catch it before it was too late, and now they're fixing the situation. Now I'm going back to my original statement that Zeus is going on top of a Rise Heart.
It's really so close, though.
So still battle.
I don't think it's close. Have you ever had a Zeus with like 10 materials? It's just the best.
I guess. You're right.
I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe phase 2.
It could still be. I mean, Rise Heart with so many materials is also fantastic. He's thinking, it looks like Ryan is also not unsure of what the right answer is as well. At least we can debate it back and forth. He must ponder by himself. He should ask his teammates. He has
yes.
This would be a perfect question to ask your teammates. What do you guys think? Should I have Zeus and a Rise Heart, or should I just have a Mega Zeus? Okay, well, we're both wrong. It's a tribute summon.
Well, he could still go into Zeus.
Yeah, he can still go into Zeus, but I didn't expect the tribute summon. So he's going to get more materials under this Rise Heart. I wish we could see how many exactly there were, but maybe I can hear them say vocally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe?
I've not used
I wonder if he can get the 10th.
That would be on my checklist. See 10 material Zeus.
If he hasn't activated Theosis, he can get to 10.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Activate.
Here we go, Theosis.
Okay, as much as I wanted to have both of them on the field, Billy, you were right.
Let's get a big Zeus. No, but that's all putting all your eggs in one basket, though. So maybe not. Maybe he should go Shangri-Ira and just put a Zeus on top of the Shangri-Ira next to it. Now I'm changing my mind. I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket.
I mean, granted, they both sort of lose to cards like Lava. I mean, lose in the sense that it would be inconvenient.
I don't know what to say right now. I'm just like, okay, Rise Heart is going to summon off the Theosis. Theosis is, I mean, Rise Heart's going to banish the top 3 cards of James's deck and allow Ryan to banish a Kashtira Speller Trap from his deck.
Which just means there's more materials under this Zeus.
Effect to destroy Birth. And then
Ooh, Dark Armed.
Big Bang from my graveyard.
That is exciting.
Effect to attach, effect to Big Bang.
Oh, I wanted to see Zeus.
So,
We'll never know if he was actually going to go into Zeus. One of us will have to ask him that in the interview if we get the opportunity.
Dang, that is unfortunate.
I think at that point it was an obvious case, but I really wanted a Zeus to
but
hit
then
the
he
field.
just gets kaiju'd and it's just all over, right? So, like, you just can't do it.
Anytime you get to see, I don't know, a 16 material Zeus, you have to do it. But we actually just got to see Dark Arm, the Dragon of Annihilation, briefly there at the very end. See, the big issue that I saw there was if you don't get rid of the birth is an automatic point of interaction that you need to deal with.
Okay.
So that kind of forces out the original first Zeus activation. I granted we have that many Zeus activations, but
Yeah, definitely a cool match. Yeah, that was an exciting last turn, too, for that crazy game. There's really just how cool that the matchups can play out. Wish we could have got to see the Zeus touchdown, you know, but it makes sense to concede because, you know, there is time on the clock. You got to get to that next game. I feel like that game probably he could have conceded a little sooner, probably. Like, the writing was clearly on the walls after those big guys took all his entire board.
maybe
It's cool.
he was just curious.
What are you going to do? I am curious. It's cool. I haven't seen that big eye play since, what is it, 2013? It's been almost a decade? Like, from the Dragon Rulers. I've almost completely forgot about that. Yeah, 'cause
What do you think?
oh man, that was so cool to see. Hopefully to see more of it.
2014 too, and some of the other deck strat that existed, like
Oh,
Sylvans.
Sylvans,
Yep,
yeah.
that was what I was bringing up. I remember doing that a few times at the North American World Championship qualifier in 2014.
The Soul Charge NAWCQ, right?
Big eye.
That's a deck I wish I could go back and play. So yeah, that would be a fun Time Wizard format to me to go back to because I never really got to play Sylvans at full power. I played like Mermails during that format, Kwakemiru, I think my friends tried to convince me to play Kwakemiru. I didn't, but the deck was pretty good.
I tried to convince you to play Sylvans. We played the morning of that North American World Championship qualifier, and you're like, this deck isn't crazy. I'm like, I know. I don't know why you're playing it. This deck's right up your alley. I get to play double Lone Fire Boss.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, so you know how much I wanted to try out that deck from the beginning. Yeah. Before that tournament, I hadn't been playing too much, so I just kind of went with what I knew, you know, but that definitely wasn't the good choice for that weekend. That's so funny. But yeah, Big Eye making a huge splash back into the game. It's so awesome to see. Cool. That's my favorite part about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like cards from 10, 20 years ago can all of a sudden be useful again with new cards that come out that can really help. Cards that you never thought you would ever use in a million years, all of a sudden they're like really powerful or really pivotal just based on new cards. And that's something I feel like is very specific to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game itself because it's been around for so long. It has so much of a wide card pool. Over 11,000 cards, I believe, by now. I know it's over 10,000 at one point, so I'm assuming we hit 11K easily by now.
I mean, we've seen reinforcements of the Army this weekend, Book of Moon this weekend, both cards that have been around for quite a long time.
Raigeki is still going strong. Not as much, but still a good card.
Change of Heart.
Change of Heart back. Yatagarasu's at 3. You know, you never thought we would have seen that day, but maybe that's a little sign of the older cards not being as impactful. I still think a Spirit deck would be pretty cool. I'm looking for a Spirit deck if anyone out there is trying to show me the power of Yatagarasu. See, this is what you do. We made a joke about this last night. You summon Yatagarasu, you equip it with the Iron Digger, so it's a ninja, and you make Mazen so the Yata can attack directly, and you skip their turn. And then when the Yata returns to your hand, the Iron Digger goes to the graveyard, and you get to use the effect to either special summon a ninja or add back a ninja, and your opponent doesn't get to draw.
I like it.
Yes, it's something.
I think Yata's best hope was someone going back in history and making him a wing beast, seeing how he is a bird. Then he could have been the Robina target that the Wind Barrier statue is no longer.
Yeah, there's still, I think, a roundabout way you can search Yata somehow in the Flunderies deck, but it's not as easy as if it would have just been a Wing Beast and to get that extra normal summon. But yeah, it's weird because you think Yata would be a Wing Beast, right? It's a bird. But no, in fact, it's a fiend.
When that card was originally taken off the Forbidden List, I remember getting text messages, people asking me about Flunderies. I was like, for a second, I was like, wow, you're right, that is an incredible interaction. Then you look at the card and you say, oh, it's a fiend. I haven't looked at you in about 20 years. I forgot that.
Yep. I went through that same process. And now it looks like our duelists are finally ready. That's it. This is round number 7. It's game number 3. This is our last game we're going to be featuring for the day before we come back tomorrow. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. It looks like on our table score updates, Bowden did win his match. So Cypher Slackers up a game. Nishad evened things out at table C. And now we are here at game 3 at table B. James is going to lead things off with Fenrir.
The next duelist that wins a game will win the match for the team.
That's very true.
Oh, it seems to have just happened.
Oh, no. Oh, no. That's the one that would not make it.
Oh, you're right.
Now this is the determining game. Both teams have won one. This is the first time we've got to see this weekend. Now everything's on the line. All the other games are played. This is the last game of their match. So this means all their teammates are focused on this game. They're done with their matches. All the players can watch this game. So not only are you all watching at home, the players' teammates are watching right next to them. So we're going to see a lot of more debate.
I don't know if it changed.
This event, it changed.
Looks like they're having a ruling question. I didn't get to really hear what the ruling question was.
The question that we'll return to is, what did James open in addition to the Kashtira Fenrir? As we've been talking about several times today, you need an additional combo piece with Fenrir.
Yeah, Fenrir does. I mean, Fenrir can grab you Rise Heart, but you get Rise Heart, but it's definitely not like a full combo. You definitely want to have like Theos or something. You can already assume he doesn't have the Pressured Planet, right? Because you just go for that Unicorn first. But yeah, definitely not always wanting to lead off with that Fenrir. It used to be just ideal. Like, you open Fenrir, wow, lucky you. Now it's like, oh, I opened Fenrir. It's not even Unicorn.
But like when I talked to the judge yesterday, he said players cannot reveal private knowledge like that out loud.
So it looks like they're just having a discussion about the intricacies of the rules in a 3v3.
Well, we're just going to sit here and wait and see if the judges can resolve this situation. But the Kashtira mirror match is a lot more interesting than I anticipated. I thought it kind of, well, with round one it wasn't, because like the players would first open full combo, lock all your zones out, really not much you can do. But when the zones are unlocked, a lot more fun can be had.
I think once the players got towards the end of the day and started to realize that a lot of people are incorporating Nibiru in the main deck, that combo that everybody is afraid of, where you lock out as many monster zones as possible, may make you vulnerable in the long run to some of those strategies that are incorporating Nibiru.
Oh my god.
Certainly. I think that is a huge thing. We have noticed, yeah, more safe plays have developed throughout the day. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, I know I watched the YCS Lion last weekend, and I saw a lot of the Kashtira players also playing very safe, making the 3 level 7s into a Rise Hard, staying at 4 summons. It makes a lot of sense.
This will be one of those sort of cat and mouse things that we see over the next few weeks, where, okay, if everybody's going to do that at 4 summons, well, Nibiru has to go back to the side deck, and if Nibiru starts going to the side deck, well, all of a sudden, all right, fine, I'll go for the full combo. I'll lock you out all your monster zones. So it'll be interesting to see how that interaction navigates over the next few weeks.
Yeah, it's definitely, this is also just the beginning of this format. Like, nothing is decided or solved or figured out by this weekend. There's plenty of more time for the format to develop. Like, if anything, it's still just wide open. We've seen a wide variety of decks. Labyrinth is all over the place. Sprite decks are still running around. Runic, we haven't even seen, there's a Runic Sprite Naturia deck that's out there that's doing really, really well. We featured a team that was using it, but we didn't feature the 2 players that were using the deck. But those 2 players happen to be the ones that won the match, while the match we watched wasn't able to finish. So that's a deck I'm looking forward to seeing tomorrow. Because the Naturia cards seem pretty interesting, and I want to see what is actually how they're using it to advance their strategy. I know some of those cards from Magnificent Mavens are still in their decks, like the Medora, the Keldo, the Kelbeck, and Agido. I know those cards everyone quite feared for some time that made tier elements so dominant that they're now finally limited to 1. Still playable, but not as consistent as before.
I do want to go back to something you said fairly recently, which is this weekend doesn't necessarily settle everything. That couldn't be more true. It's really exciting to broadcast the very first YCS of a new Forbidden Unlimited list, but one of the things from my own personal experience is looking back at some of the decisions that I made going into tournaments at the beginning of a format and thinking to myself,
what was I thinking?
What was I thinking? Because 3 or 4 months later, or 3 or 4 weeks later in some cases, the format would change dramatically, and there would be this, let's say 2 or 3 decks that were just so dominant a month in, but on the first day, very few people were playing it.
I have a perfect example for this.
So do I.
Okay, well, do you want to go first? Let me go. Oh, no, you go first.
Okay, so the strategy that comes to mind is the combo of Advanced Ritual Arts and Demise King of Armageddon with the Doom Dozer and normal Insects.
Yeah.
That deck was legal for a YCS and really didn't do much. It, however, sort of started to float around the internet and started to go around different teams, and it started to become more popular. Next thing you know, the next YCS, it was one of the more dominant decks, and for the rest of that format, I'm talking about the summer of 2007, it became a pretty common combo strategy.
Very annoying.
But as people played Trap Dust Shoot,
Anti-Spell,
and then Cursed Seal actually was the big one out of the side deck, because if you hit Advanced Ritual Arts, they needed to play cards like End of the World, which was not as ideal. But as the format progressed, people started to play Wabaku, Threatening Roar. They started to main deck Trap Dushu. And as a result, the combo wasn't as powerful. But on that first day, you show up with a combo deck like that, you could take the event by storm, but nobody was playing.
Yep, yeah, it was definitely one of those cool decks. Yeah. So my story's a little different. So I was going the other way with it. You're talking about decks that were good but not known. I'm talking about what at the beginning of a format, the deck I chose to play, sometimes not great. So the Dragon Rulers, so they all got limited. They were to 1. Everyone got put to 1. So I was like, oh no, the Dragon Rulers are done. But like, no, Blaster's still around. So I'm going to use Blaster. These new Fire Fist cards that came out. So when the Ravine Ruler technically format started, not a lot of players knew that Ravine Rulers were like super good. I'm over here playing my Blaster Fire Fist deck. My Wombo combo is like Blaster, discard, Rooster, pop your card. Or is it Rooster? Yeah, some of the one that summons back from my graveyard, bring it back, make a Lion Emperor, add back my Blaster so I can pop another one of your cards again on the following turn. And I thought it was so good, but it was just one of those beginning of the format decks that it was not. I mean, it did okay, but the Spellbooks, World of Prophecy just came out, so it wasn't as fun. But that's another time where the format, as it developed, you realize, oh wow, this Ravine Ruler deck, it's a deck that used one of each of the Dragon Rulers and focused on Dragon Ravine and 3 copies of Ancient Fairy Dragon, which is another thing we talk about off the Forbidden Limited list with, a minor text update, which will be really cool to see. I'm excited to be able to use that card again. I believe March 10th is...
I was about to say, it's not yet officially off. I mean, it's officially announced off, but not officially off.
Yep, March 10th is something I'm anticipating to definitely try it out. So the difference in Ancient Fairy Dragon now, what it does, is both its effects are hard once per turn by name, so you can only use Ancient Fairy Dragons each effect once per turn. And if you destroy a field spell to add another field spell from your deck to your hand, it has to be a different name. It can't be the same one. So that curbs a lot of the huge problems that you have with the Ancient Fairy Dragon, but you'll be able to use that easily. Just throw a Dragon Ravine in your deck. Maybe you have Dragon Link or something. You can destroy your Dragon Ravine to get Boot Sector launched if maybe your Striker Dragon got negated. I don't know. There's a lot of cool, interesting applications you can use with Ancient Fairy Dragon, and I'm excited to see what players are going to do. And also, all these Visa Starfrost decks. I mean, no one's really using Visa Starfrost, but you could change your field spells out for other Visa Starfrost field spells, like in a Tier Limit Kashtira strategy, or I think the Scareclaw, you'll be able to add the Scareclaws into a lot of decks to utilize Ancient Fairy Dragon. And then maybe, I don't know, there's a lot to be unpacked there and found out by the duels out there. And I'm excited to see how it's going to play out. This format's been awesome so far.
It has been. It's, talking again about sort of the first event and how much can change over the next month, it actually reminded me of a much more recent format. At YCS Hartford last year, which was the first event of the format, one of the decks that really, I think, took the event by storm were those Adventure Artifact Scythe combo decks that a lot of people kind of wrote off. And then all of a sudden they take that event by storm, and then those decks end up being some of the more popular decks that we saw at the summer sort of national season. So much can change. So much can change. The performance of some of these top decks this weekend, I think, will really dictate what the next, let's say, month looks like.
Yeah, it at least gives players something to look at. So it's going to either give players something to look at and be like, oh, this deck won, I want to use that deck. Or you look at it and be like, oh, this deck won, how can I beat this deck every single time that I face it? Those are like the two duality of duelists. Like, which one are you going to be? Are you going to counter it? I try and find a middle ground. I want to play like a deck I feel is strong, solid, but it definitely has a good matchup into, a majority of what I might be facing. And if not, you definitely have to prepare your side deck as well.
I think players knew Labyrinth was going to be a top tier deck heading into this weekend, but that's probably one of the decks where if it's so evident that, let's say, it makes up 20% of our top cut, which is a little bit more difficult with 3v3, the amount of actual decks that will be in the top cut. But let's just say approximately 20%, 25%.
That's a big percentage.
The higher that a deck like that starts to creep up in top tier representation, the more players will start to acclimate to it. The more players will start to put in cards like maybe Anti-Spell Arrow, which is a really interesting card against trap strategies that has historically been a card that every now and again sees play, but sometimes
very specific
formats. So it'll be interesting to see how players adjust to the popularity of a deck like Labyrinth. If what we've seen so far this weekend, which is the deck has been performing, it's been used by many players who have a ton of accolades, selecting this control deck.
Yeah, we get to see the beautiful trophies right there. They look amazing. I wish my trophy had an etch card into it, something like that. The Another Dragon just looks so awesome. You can only be seen by the Champion of Time.
Yeah, I can't speak to that. I have a trophy with the Blood Mephis sort of embedded in it, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's a 4th place trophy.
But that's still better than any trophy I have. That's awesome. That's from the 100th?
Long Beach.
Long Beach. Is it the 100th one, though, right?
Or
150th?
So.
Yeah, 100th. Yeah. I remember it. He did so well. It's such a good event. A lot of fun. Dark World actually ended up winning that event.
It did.
Mike Ballin. I believe he's from Vegas, too.
I think so. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, now Dark World's back on the menu. I'm surprised. Maybe he is out there and I just haven't seen him yet. But I was shocked coming in Friday. The buzz is the rumors that were going around. Everyone's like, have you seen the Dark World deck? Have you seen the Dark World deck?
The person he played in the finals of that event is playing Dark World this weekend. Simon Hayek.
It all comes full circle. Pretty awesome. But now Big Eye's still here. It literally does come full circle. Cards that were good once good will probably be good again one day in the future.
We've seen Pot of Duality this weekend.
We've seen, what other pots? So we have the pot collection in front of us. So let's talk about the pots we've seen. We'll go one by one. Pot of Duality, we've seen, right?
We've seen in Labyrinth, yep.
All right, I don't know if I can even name all these. I'm pretty sure I can, but I might miss. These two I might get it confused, but I think it's good. So we have Pot of Dichotomy next, right? And this is the pot collection. You want to make sure you get this. It's only going to be available for a short time on pre-order. It comes with all these figures plus cards for each one of them. And the quarter-century secret rare pot of greed is something you're going to want to get your hands on. But so pot of riches. Riches. Yeah, I couldn't remember. It's something, but yeah, definitely haven't seen riches this weekend. Then we have Pot of Avarice. No Pot of Avarice this weekend, but definitely.
There is a universe if Zodiac becomes a good, playable top-tier deck again.
Yeah.
That card, when it became unlimited to 3, which is I guess probably about 2 or 3 years ago, there were Zodiac combos that utilized this card. So maybe someday.
And Pot of Desires. I don't think it's definitely probably in players' deck. I know players are playing Sword Soul this weekend.
This one is Extravagance.
Oh, it's Extravagant?
We have definitely seen Extravagance this weekend.
Oh, okay. I thought this one was Extravagance. This one is Desires. This one's Desires, I'm pretty sure. This one's Extravagance, but I'm not certain. Maybe I'm getting confused. Either way, we've definitely seen Extravagance. And then there's the good old-fashioned. Oh, yeah, this is Desires. I can see it on there. I can't see the front of them. Yeah, this one's Desires. This is Extravagance. This one's Pot of Greed. What does this one do?
That one lets you draw 2 cards.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
If you want to play that this weekend, you have to go to the Time Wizard format.
Oh, okay. You can play the 2004, the old school. Pot Duo Graceful, Pot Graceful Duo. And then Pot of Desires. Definitely haven't seen, but Sword Soul definitely using it. Then
I've seen it this weekend.
Oh, it was on one of yours rounds.
Not in my feature match, but I did do a few walk-arounds, and I saw actually a Sword Soul player, at this point I think still undefeated within his team, at least. His team's undefeated. I don't know what he's doing specifically. So I did actually see a Pot of Desires get activated this weekend.
Okay, and then next up, Pot of Extravagance. I thought this one's Extravagance. No, this is Extravagance. This one is Average. I don't remember which one this one is. I don't know. It's hard.
This one's Pot of Prosperity.
Oh, Prosperity. Okay, yeah, I can't tell from the back. Yeah, Pot of Prosperity. You can see it there. It's awesome looking. Pot of Prosperity. We've definitely seen this one this weekend the most. It's the Kashtira main card. Pot of Benevolence. Pot of Generosity. I haven't seen these. Pot of Equivocness. We could see this one. Oh, we're still on the Greedrosity. Yeah, definitely a good one. But the Pot of Equivocness we could use. But yeah, this is it. This is the pot collection. It's 14 figures, 15 cards. You're going to get a card for each one of these pot cards, including Pot of Prosperity. You're going to get it just from purchasing the collection, and they're all in a special rarity, and you get that special quarter-century secret rare Pot of Greed. So you're going to want to make sure you check out the pot collection. I'm so used to looking at the cards, and it's so hard to tell which one's which in person, but it's fun. Like, I'm going to get them, and I ordered 3 sets. I'm going to have them all throughout my house, so no matter which room you walk into, where you look, there's just going to be some crazy pot face looking right back at you.
I'm jealous. You and Michael have actually ordered 3 of them. I only pre-ordered 1 of them. I guess I should have ordered 3.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. And then Pot of Equivocness is a cool one in ABC. I'm hoping to see that again. We also have these little tiny ones, too. Little tiny moray of greed. The shard of greed's actually my favorite because it's just like an eye.
I can tell someday my cat is just going to knock that on the ground and I'm going to lose it.
It's gone, yeah. And this is Spirit of the Pot, I believe, too. But yep, still waiting for the judge to kind of figure out what to do in this matchup. But we will hopefully get to jump back into it pretty soon. It's been a really good day though so far. We got to see a lot of different decks. I feel like I've seen more Labyrinth than anything else. Like,
I think that's maybe the surprise of the weekend from at least our perspective. Now, we've walked around and actually seen other decks, but in terms of what we featured, I mean, it is fairly random. We look at the tables, we pick some players, and then next thing you know, we're having another Labyrinth mirror match.
Sorry, it's just me and my moray. We're just hanging out. You got some water monsters you want to shuffle back into your deck? I'm coming swimming out of the pot. I love these figures. They're actually so awesome.
There was actually a relatively new card. Like an Avarice of Moray, I think the card was called.
Yep. Oh, yeah. That's the newer one. For you can use it with the goatee theme, the new World Premiere theme. But this is the Shard of Greed. It's awesome. But we do have something to show you. We're going to talk about Speed Duel Trials of the Pharaoh. You to participate in Speed Duel Trials of the Pharaoh, you get awesome prizes. You get to go to your OTS store, participate, complete these special events, and if you complete the missions, you'll be able to get special stuff. It's definitely something you want to check out. This is featuring the Midterm Paradox box. It's Speed Duel GX Midterm Paradox box, which is kind of focuses on the two-part episode where Jaden and Cyrus have to tag duel the Paradox brothers. And that's because Crowler's, he hires the Paradox brothers to try and get Cyrus. If Cyrus and Jaden doesn't win, Jaden's out of school. The Cypher Slackers are gone. But, of course, Jaden tells Cyrus to believe. I won't spoil it for you. You should go watch it and see what happens in that episode. But believe in yourself is the only thing you can do. And now let's talk about this game mat. This is Photon Hypernova Regional Game Mat. If you participate in a regional this season, you'll be able to win this map from making top 8. It is beautiful. It features some of the new Chaos monsters out of Photon Hypernova. I really like the color scheme on it.
Yeah, this one is beautiful.
Yeah, it's Chaos Beast, Chaos Archfiend, and then that picture's from the Chaos Trap card. The name escapes me at the moment. And then we have a release celebration game mat. This is coming up. You're going to want to make sure you find your local OTS and see if they're holding a release celebration for Structure Deck. Beware of Trap Tricks. This Structure Deck has a lot of new cards for the Trap Trick strategy, along with great cards that you might want to add into your deck. Stuff like Evenly Matched Even, Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, Raigeki, Harpy's Feather Duster. All these cards can be found in this Structure Deck alongside brand new Trap Trick monsters that will be quite impactful. They even get a new trap card that you could summon as a trap monster just by discarding cards, so it's kind of like a Shade Burgundy. Definitely useful and really impactful. It kind of takes Trap Tricks from a slow trap focus deck into like a combo-oriented deck where you can actually put up some boards and do a lot of stuff. You definitely want to check out Structure Deck, Beware of the Trap Tricks.
It'll be interesting to see that in Labyrinth. If we're talking about, if you want to go into an event with 20, 25 trap cards, which of those strategies that you'd end up picking. We have to wait a little bit to find that out, but we'll, down the line, be able to find that out.
I definitely want that game mat. I love the artwork on the Trap Trick cards. They look so fantastic. But it's Trap Tricks. It's definitely something I can't wait to get. The Structure Decks have just been really awesome lately. It's hard not to buy them. We talked about Dark World. The Dark World Structure Deck, Structure Deck Dark World, came out in December, and now we're seeing people playing with it here. Before that, we had the Crystal Beast Structure Deck even saw some play. We got to see people use cards out of that in the Tier 1 strategy and dedicated Crystal Beast. And before that, the branded Structure Deck, Albass Strike, is still having an impact to this day. So if you every time you see a new Structure Deck coming out, I would highly suggest you get 3 of them just to get some powerful cards that you're not going to be able to get otherwise.
I mean, even the branded, you had the cards like Allure of Darkness in it.
Yeah, fantastic cards to get your hands on again that were previously released. Super awesome. But that is about it for the Structure Decks. We're running out of things to talk about. We've been waiting for quite some time, but we're happy that you're here. If you're here waiting with us, thank you. Tell me, which one of these pots is your favorite? Which one are you excited about to get your pot collection? It doesn't matter because you're getting all of them when you order it. It's not one. You don't have to pick and choose. And you get a card for each one. You're wondering, why did I buy 3? I don't own a Pot of Prosperity, so this is finally my chance to get 3 Pot of Prosperities. And they're all going to be, they have to be matching rarities, right?
Naturally.
Yeah, naturally. You have to match your rarities. So I wanted to make sure I got 3 of those.
All right, here's the question, Billy. How many of these have you played in tournaments?
Well, I got Desires, Duality for sure. I've never used Pot of Prosperity, but I would if I were playing. I do play, but I would use Pot of Prosperity for sure. Pot of Desires, I said that 100%. Pot of Greed, yes. Extravagance, no. Avarice, yes. I've tried Dichotomy for fun, when it first came out, and I was like, it's okay, but I ended up not using Pot of Dichotomy in tournament.
It worked well with Fire Hand, Ice Hand, those strategies.
Oh, yeah, that was really good.
Did you ever play any of the Marais of Greed strategies?
Sort of. Yeah, I use Marais of Greed probably in some Mermail deck, but we're going to be right back after a quick break, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you shortly. Everyone, it looks like we're ready to jump right back into the game. Finally, we've got it all figured out.
Yeah.
And now we are going to finally continue play. So the Fenrir probably added the Unicorn, and now James activated Birth to summon the Unicorn. Unicorn's effect's going to activate to add the Theosis. Now he's going to activate Theosis to special summon.
So when we last left off, we saw that James opened with Fenrir, and the question was whether or not he had cards like Birth that would allow him to extend. He did, in fact, have Birth, but then, of course, gets through Unicorn, Theosis. So he has what you might call close to what we have been calling this weekend full combo from the Kashtira deck.
He Nibiru game 1.
Yep, nothing really useful there from those mills from the top of his deck to the graveyard.
One less Nibiru that Ryan would have to worry about if that does matter in the turns that follow. He also lost 2 pressured planets, which, if the game goes long enough, could be quite frustrating as well.
All right, overlays for Shangri-Ira. So yeah, we're seeing more of a typical Kashtira play. Special summons Rise Heart from the hand.
Yeah.
Use the effect, probably going to banish Big Bang. Banishes the top 3 cards of Ryan's deck. Big Bang's going to allow James to detach, or take a material from underneath Shangri-Ira, add it to the hand, and then he can choose to special summon it.
Locking. Monster.
We see here James has conducted his 5th summon, so unlike that first game, he is going to continue onward, not worrying as much about Nibiru. Either potentially because the makeup of his hand will allow him to play through Nibiru, but I doubt that that's fully possible. Maybe perhaps just looking at the makeup of his hand and thinking, this is the best path to victory.
Is he going for another Shangri? Oh, it's Diabolus probably. Yep, the Mind Hacker. Ryan's passing over his extra deck.
Summon Arise. You mean Birth?
He did.
Good.
Who was that? Big Eye?
Oh, it looks Big Eye. He has flashbacks to the previous game of Big Eye versus Big Eye.
Yeah, at least take one out of the equation.
I imagine Ryan's only playing a singleton copy if that's what James ended up selecting anyway.
This one? And then top 4?
Now the Diabolus is going to banish the top 4. He's going to lose another zone.
Ooh, we see a copy of Forbidden Lance banished at the top of Ryan's deck. That's another card that we haven't seen in quite some time.
Is it going to be another copy of Shangri-Ira?
No.
It is. It looks like he's going for a zone lock this game. Nope, just goes into a Rise Heart, just wants the materials. Makes a lot of sense.
And the main?
Yeah. My go?
So the question here, does Ryan have some of what we have recently been calling power spells, cards that can retaliate against these really potent opening plays? Cards like, in this format, cards like Book of Eclipse would qualify.
Okay. Yeah. Semi-base?
Book of Eclipse would be a good one to have here.
Maybe
I do see Book of Moon, so he at least has something. And Chalice. Oh, no, it's Lance. It is a forbidden card. Well, a forbidden spell card that's not forbidden.
Did you see Eclipse?
A card of the forbidden theme.
Eclipse? You didn't.
Okay.
So if Ryan had Book of Eclipse, he would have activated it in draw phase to avoid this free summon for Shangri-La during the standby phase, so we can rule out that as one of the potential cards that he has in his hand.
All right. Mavis?
Yeah.
All right, let's see what he can do. Probably going to start with the
Activate planet.
planet. Okay. Let's see if James, decides to use a Rise Heart to banish the planet face down. So that'll trigger the Shangri-Ira.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm sure it's fine. No.
Ryan seems very confident in how he wants to navigate this turn.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Sure. So 2.
So
Well, I guess 1 first, and then
locks out of zone.
1, 2, 3.
Diabolos
4,
is
5,
gonna
6,
ban
7,
it.
8, 9.
So he has to banish
9 cards.
9 cards on the top of his deck.
Ryan must feel like he has whatever he needs in his hand because his teammates were asking him a question. He said, "No, this is fine. I'm confident."
Okay, cool.
And then trigger again. From the bash, yeah.
So we see 4 main monster zones locked out.
Down to just 1 monster zone. That's all he needs to special summon Unicorn.
Effective search.
Yeah.
So James is going to be able to use Fenrir, banish Unicorn,
I'm gonna chain.
and potentially lock out the final zone. Oh, but he has a copy of Enemy Controller. That is a card I don't think we've actually seen. At least I haven't seen in the feature match area.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, not today. It's definitely since like the Sprite match. It's been a card that's been floating around kind of in the meta, but definitely really cool to use here in the mirror match. I think.
This is definitely what we would qualify as a power spell.
Oh
Effective
yeah,
search.
this is huge. He takes the Fenrir. He gets to use the Fenrir effect to add to his hand, so he gets Unicorn Fenrir while eliminating that Fenrir from James' side of the field.
Oh, no, I think it was match face down.
You're right. Yeah, I was so sure. It's okay.
Seems like something that he wanted to originally search must have been banished with the, let's say approximately 13 cards that Mindhacker's banished off the top of his deck. He does have a Rise Art, though, which is probably one of the better cards that he could have access to. The question here is, how is he going to get Shingala off the field to suddenly open up his main monster zones?
1 in hand.
Yeah.
It'll be okay, I think. I think I just have to burn this now, right? Yeah.
Looks like he's finally going to
actually, I
decide
can
to
do
use
it.
the Book of Moon.
I don't have to do it now. So I can do this first. I can do this. I can put this first, right? Yeah. Well, I'm saying I can do this first to get more materials. Yeah. So I'm gonna rise.
So just goes into Rise Heart. Since a Shangra Ira activates effect anywhere on the field, that's going to allow him to use the Rise Heart since James used Shangra Ira during the standby phase.
And numerous times during the main phase.
I just battle, right? Yeah.
Sometimes it's interesting just to hear the players talk together. When it's all down to just one singleton match and you have basically a 3-on-3 in terms of the thought process, it's really interesting to hear some of their insights.
This is okay. Yeah, this is good.
So he's going to Theos the Rise Heart. He's like, I know what I'm doing, Bowden. I can tell it's Bowden. I hear his voice in the background.
Yeah.
Ryan's just reassuring them, no, this is good.
He might be the only Australian in the room.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. So this is gonna add this.
So since Theosis is banished, he's able to add a banished Kashtira.
Yeah, well, he said he's thinking.
What is the last face down that James has here for Ryan?
That card's going to play a pivotal role in this game. Oh, it's an imperm.
Okay. So add this back.
I don't think that that's going to have a huge impact.
This, right?
Still got trigger mine first, actually. So you were chain like one mandatory.
1, 2.
No,
3.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying it's
Yes, 3 Rise Hearts.
1, 2.
Yeah.
So we got mandatory triggers that are going to be placed on the chain first, and then the optional trigger effects will be decided
You do
second.
it last. So,
Oh,
so am I good?
But
No,
turn
no,
player is
I'm
going to go
feeling-
first on the
yeah,
chain
yeah,
link for the
so I'm
option.
resolving.
So his or I's hearts first.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks like they figured it out.
Okay. So, battle, yeah.
Mandatory
that's
triggers,
the
turn
2
player goes
advantage,
first. Yep.
Yeah, even no field spell? Okay. Attack.
He's going to
For
attack
200.
over the Diabolus. Doubles checks, makes there's no field spell since it just makes everything so strong for no reason.
I think there's 2.
Zeus
Back.
has to be pivotal here in the mirror
I
match.
probably did, but
So the imperm basically made it so that the Zeus only has
two
one
advantage.
effect instead of having multiple materials underneath it. That's, I guess, ultimately what the Zeus
And now Ryan,
imperm interaction ends up being.
oh yeah, it definitely helped out a little bit. But Ryan gets to save his Book of Moon now to use defensively, which is
Yes.
pretty cool.
Sorry. Just set these, right? Set these, pass, right? Yeah. Set
All
two.
right, just a Zeus, nothing really on the board, but
Okay.
James with 1 card in hand, drawing to 2. He's going to need 2 good cards here to come back into this game. Because if he just has a Fenrir or a Unicorn, that's going to get booked on some, and he's going to need something else
Birth.
after that. Birth. It's always Birth.
It's always birth.
I got it.
No, he doesn't
Ooh,
have
he's
anything at
conceding.
all, and that's it. After
I'm
all
sorry,
that,
I'm sorry.
Ryan wins.
The game's
It really goes to show you just the power spells. In this case, it was enemy controller. That was the singleton card.
Yeah.
Yep,
I'm so sorry.
going
Yeah.
to say the enemy controller, he had the Book of
Sorry,
Moon. He was able to play into it. He only had 1 zone available, but that's all he needed. And the Cypher Slackers are going to be the winners here at round number 7.
It's really exciting. Anytime enemy controller is a playable competitive card,